love to do is check our social media and see what questions people have about our methodology and day-to-day here at Farm. I wanted to create a casual conversation as if you're joining us on the sofa in the living room and answer some of your questions. So let's make some tea, grab some coworkers, and chat. Hey Christine.
Hey.
Here's your tea. You ready to chat?
Ready. Let's do this.
Hey guys, it's Melina. When I first started working here at Farm, I was fresh out of college and presenting was definitely not my strong suit. So I had a lot to learn, and I thought Christine and Jethro would be perfect for this conversation because they definitely helped me hone my presentation skills, and I feel like I'm a much better presenter because of you
Great.
guys.
You're a great presenter.
We're V-flattered. Thanks.
We get a lot of questions on how we present here at Farm and some do's and don'ts. Christine, you've been here for almost 7 years, so you have a lot of years under your belt here at Farm. Is there anything that you would advise to people who are either self-taught or just don't really know how to present to a client?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's different. I think the very first thing that I would suggest doing, and I learned this from my speech class. I don't know if any of you guys have taken a speech class, but my teacher always told me to picture myself presenting or doing well and not failing. And it totally helps because if you assume that you are going to do bad, you get super fixated on it, and it
You get super nervous, you can't focus, and you feel like the room is spinning, and
your mindset just goes
it
somewhere
just doesn't
else.
help.
So I think starting off on a positive note and foot is the first thing that I would advise.
Definitely. I know for me, I like to kind of write down the talking points that I want to go over in the presentation. Is there anything you do, Jethro, in that sense?
I mean, similar to what you said, that's something I love to do is I want to kind of write a list of the points I want to hit just so that I could put all of my thoughts and have them organized. Because that's one thing, oftentimes you get so caught up on the designs that you sort of forget about what are sort of the high level concepts you want to hit so that the client understands this presentation. It also allows me to keep things simple when I write it down so that I don't get too wordy, and it makes it easier to sort of present my ideas.
And I think that helps for whether you're already a great presenter or if this is your first presentation. Definitely if it's your first presentation, I would suggest having some time to take down notes. And if, let's say, you're doing this presentation but a whole bunch of other designers worked on it, I would suggest talking to those designers as well and jotting
their insights,
and jotting down those points just so that you'll be able to deliver the message behind what their concept was.
Preparation is definitely key. I remember my very first internship interview. For some reason, I
think you're
I don't know why I thought that they're not gonna ask me to present my portfolio. I thought, here you go. I don't know why. This is so amateur of me, but amazingly enough, I was able to pull something off right on the spot. But that really taught me to
Be prepared.
Just be prepared at any instance. I think what sometimes helps too is when you're setting up your presentation, I think along the way, just start thinking about, because you're already thinking about how you're going to present it, right?
Yeah.
So try to kind of like remember that in your head, and it kind of helps to make sure
Right, and I think
you remember what you're doing.
I think whether you're presenting, a project to or a portfolio, the important thing is try not to state the obvious. Kind of like saying, like, this is yellow, this is... Or what
say
you see.
Exactly what's on the presentation.
Right. I think it's more talking about, like, what was the concept behind it? Talk about the essence. Maybe you pull something from the research. So giving them a little more insight to what you're presenting rather than what they're just seeing. So
going back to, since we're talking about, how do you talk about the content of your presentation and whatnot, one thing that I very much learned from presenting here at Farm is you really want to set the stage of what you're about to present. You can't just assume that whoever you're presenting to knows what you're about to show them. So that's one important thing, because if you go straight away to your concepts or whatever that valuable part of presentation is, they might just feel like, whoa, where are we going?
I think starting off with maybe what is the objective? Why are you here today? Why are you meeting? Followed by a recap of maybe you had a previous meeting with them. So just recapping the things they said and the things that you had agreed upon leaving that meeting, so that they remember like, oh, that's right, that's where we left off. So just so they get back into that mindset of what the project is all about.
And I know Erin definitely talks to us about our energy when we're presenting and how you kind of have to double the energy of the people in the room. So if they're kind of quiet, you liven up the room a little bit when you're presenting, just to keep the flow going.
For sure. A really great trick, smile. I mean, you just want to exude that positivity. No, but it's true.
You kind of set the energy of that.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, you don't want it to be a monotone conversation.
No, not at all.
It's not memorable.
Right.
If you're a little bit more lively than.
Right, and I think being confident in what you're saying, because ultimately these people are here to meet with you, so you want to know your stuff.
You're an authority in this.
So that
world.
You want to instill that confidence that you are the professional and you know what you're doing.
I think one thing too that is so valuable is, so we've been talking about some of the details while you're presenting and how to prepare, but there's also that big chunk, which is when you have the discussion points between your client and your work. And one of the things I've learned is always be ready to to have a response to what they're saying. So you really always got to have your ears open and almost kind of think ahead. And I know that's very difficult, and I know it comes with experience, but you don't want those weird pauses. And they're going to ask a lot of questions, and some may be easy, some may be difficult, but you kind of just have to allow yourself to be confident with your response.
And I think that's a good point, just because when I started, I didn't have that experience. So you have to be patient with yourself, and yes, listening and learning how to think on your feet.
Absolutely.
But what I think with me what was great was watching Erin present and just like taking down notes on like the things he did well, and then trying to incorporate that into my routine presenting.
Erin's definitely great about letting us join in on presentations. So I feel like people who necessarily don't have that in their workplace maybe ask if you can be a fly on the wall or
I think it's just the important thing is being able to have a voice in that presentation and let your presence be known, and you don't have to be super loud or obnoxious. It's just asking questions that will help you get to the end goal.
And also, just to kind of add to that, read the room, get to really know the personality of your client. I think that kind of helps you shape your presentation and how to approach them, right? Because every client is different. Some are a little bit more lenient, some are a little bit more sort of like suit and tie business. So I think that helps in how you cater to their needs when you're presenting. Well, what about you? So what are some things that you feel like you were lacking pre-farm and?
Well, I feel like presenting to a class or your professor's a lot different than a client because they are
paying clients.
They're usually older than you. They don't really have that creative bone. So it was really difficult to understand what I need to say in order to get the concept across to them. Because I could say all of these fancy design words, but they don't know what that means. So I had to really sit back and understand what words they would understand.
And actually, that's a good point too, because another thing is building that vocabulary. And knowing those design terms. And if they don't know it, I think it's a good thing for you to educate them on
teach
it. Just so then, again,
in the future,
when it'll help them down the road too.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like edit stages, they'll know those words that you're talking to them about.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of great information. Thank you both for joining me on the couch today.
Yeah,
You're
thank you
welcome.
for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks. To recap, start on a good note. Write down some high-level points that you're going to want to talk about in the presentation. Don't state the obvious or make any assumptions. Don't forget to set the stage. Smile. You're setting the energy for the presentation. Is there anything else I missed?
Just know that there's always room for improvement, so don't be so hard on yourself when you fail your first presentation or another presentation.
Yeah, be patient with yourself. The more you do it, it just comes all with experience, so you'll get better.
I'm getting better.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. We would love to hear what you guys would like us to talk about in the next video. Leave a comment below. If you'd like to join our tribe, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video. And remember, life is always better when you do good work. Bye.